This is the Forum Entrepreneur Mastermind with your hosts, Dr. Paul Benson and the special guest of the week, delving into the principles, tricks, and tips that take entrepreneurs to the next level of success. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Paul Benson, and I am the founder of the Forum, which is an entrepreneur mastermind program where we get attached with other entrepreneurs and business people and work together to learn and grow together. And so today I have with me one of my good friends. We've been great friends for the last 15 years. We've done business together a number of times, and his name is James Skinner. So welcome to the Forum today, James.
Thanks.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do I start? I grew up in a small town called Dingle, Idaho. Anybody ever heard of Dingle? It's kind of in the boondocks up north of Bear Lake, southeastern Idaho. Grew up there, left when I was about 18, and I've never been back, other than to visit. But I've been living down here in Utah, Bountiful, Layton area ever since then. Been married for 31 years. I've got 5 kids, 4 boys, and then we adopted a little girl from Taiwan. So there's 7 of us.
How old are your kids now? I'm trying to think their ages. Winter's 12?
I know Winter's 12.
Okay.
Winter's 12. We got her when she was one year old. And then my oldest boy is 27, 25, and then I have twins that are 20.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
I still remember when you guys went to Taiwan and met Winter.
Oh yeah.
That was so cool.
That was a good time. We got to the airport to leave. We were to be home on Christmas Eve.
Uh-huh.
And exciting. Everybody was going to be waiting for us. We get to the Taipei airport, and they asked us to see her passport. Oh yeah, I've got it. We couldn't find it.
Oh no.
So anyway, this was during Christmas. We ended up spending a whole other week there trying to get another passport so we could get out of the country. So we spent some time in Taiwan. It was a great, good experience. Yeah.
You got to use your language a little bit. You speak Mandarin, right?
Yeah, I speak Mandarin, Chinese, or it's a little bit rusty now, but yeah, I was able to communicate with the taxi drivers and the basic stuff. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that was exactly 11 years ago then, because she was a year old.
11 years. Yeah, 11 years ago we were there.
That's pretty cool.
Picking her up. Really cool.
Well, I'm glad to have you part of the Forum. I've always enjoyed doing business with you. So I would like to hear a little bit more about your story on the business side of things. What made you decide you wanted to be in business for yourself? And maybe tell us a little bit about the types of businesses you've had over the years.
I think my motivation for being in business is just pure laziness. That's what I used to think. I think it was just because I felt like I was lazy. My dad always told me we had to work hard. Mm-hmm. Like you got to be working, you got to be working, you got to be working. And I appreciate that, but I just thought there had to be a better way. There had to be a better way. I didn't want to be the guy working. I wanted to be the guy being worked for, right? Yeah. And so, I don't know, probably ever since I was about 18 years old, I started reading self-help books. I remember reading my first self-help book was Og Mandino, The Greatest Miracle in the World.
Yeah. And
just ever since then, I've been reading books like that. And I think that's where my entrepreneurial spirit kind of stems from, the education I got from those books. But, it was one thing wanting to do that. It was another thing actually doing it, right? So it was right before I got married when I started my own business. Mm-hmm. And I started selling produce on the side of the road.
Selling corn out of the back of the truck, right?
Corn out of the back of the truck.
I remember that.
It actually started a little bit before that. I don't think you know the backstory, but I was actually, I lived in Bountiful, and I would drive a truck that my fiance's dad was letting us use. I would drive it up to Tremont, Utah, load it with tomatoes, and I was driving it up to Kenner, Wyoming, where they don't grow tomatoes because it's too cold, and we would sell tomatoes that way.
Oh,
and then later on, I thought, this is ridiculous. Why am I driving way up there? And so I tried to sell tomatoes right there in Bountiful, and I think I lost a whole load of tomatoes because no one bought them.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought, well, maybe I'll try selling sweet corn. And so went up and got a load of sweet corn, brought it down to Bountiful, made a big plywood sign that said corn on it. That's all it said, just corn. And set up on the corner of 5 Points in Bountiful, and people just like clamored. They couldn't get it fast enough. So I was just taking money, selling it, bagging it up for them. Then the police show up. The police show up.
Where's your license?
This is how much I know about business, right? And the police show up. They're like, "Do you have a business license to be operating?" I'm like, "I don't even know where I would get that." Right?
What is that?
Right. What is that? So anyway, I call my mother-in-law. She comes down, watches my stuff. I use her car, drive up to the city offices. Luckily, it was an easy process. And I was back within an hour, had a business license.
Now you're business. You're officially in business.
And I'm a businessman. so that's been my first. That was 31 years ago.
And you're literally still at 5 Points.
I'm literally within a couple hundred yards of where I started.
That's amazing.
And the business is growing.
That's so cool. That's cool to hear that story. So now what is Skinner Produce now? It's definitely more than corn.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of years, all we sold was sweet corn,
mm-hmm.
And then I realized, I've got this traffic coming in. I've got people coming in to buy stuff. Why not try selling watermelons? So I started bringing a few watermelons and just a few other things that I thought would sell. And now today, I don't know, we probably sell 40, 50 different types of things, different produce, different fruits, different vegetables. I think last year we sold 11,000 jars of salsa. We sell jams and salsas. We sell honey corn. We just sell pretty much everything that you can grow in Utah. Plus, we bring some stuff out of state, especially if it's better quality than what is grown in Utah. So, yeah.
That's cool. Well, I always love going to I call it a stand still. It feels like the old school produce stands where you can go and pick out all the fresh produce, and it's always the best produce because it's as fresh as you can get it.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. We really pride ourselves in, because I mean, you can go buy produce from all the farmers. Smiths. Yeah, you can go to the farmers and buy it.
Okay.
And you're going to get fresh stuff, but is it the best quality? See, where my niche is I source from all the farmers. I commit to some to buy their crops, what they grow. But if quality drops a little bit, I can always source from another farmer.
Gotcha.
A farmer is stuck with his stuff.
Right.
Except the smart ones. The smart ones will also sell other farmers' stuff. You may not know that, but they'll bring in other people's stuff, and you think it's grown there. But I source from several different farmers, and if I see the quality's a little better over here, then I'll switch off.
Yeah.
And it's a very diplomatic. It has to be done with diplomacy. Is that the word? Because you don't want to burn bridges with different farmers that you're doing business with, right?
How do you think that applies to business in general, as far as the diplomacy goes and trying to create their relationships?
I think it's important because there's one thing, you got to develop a relationship, but then you've got to focus on your quality at your business, right? So you can't just purchase your product and source from one person just because you're friends, right? So it's a fine line. You're walking a tightrope between keeping good relationships and then keeping everybody happy at the same time.
You're developing a relationship, but at the same time, you're demanding the quality.
Right.
And you're holding them to the standard that you want to do business with.
Right. Yeah. And that's probably one of the toughest parts of the business is walking that tightrope.
Yeah. Do you ever show up to pick up a load and you're just like, I can't take this?
Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough. And you know what? I've taken loads before and taken them right to the dumpster. I'll pay full price for it just because I know that's not their usual product. If I feel like that's going to burn the relationship, sometimes I'll just take the hit on it.
It was worth it that time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You just can't keep doing that forever.
Right.
That'll put you out of business pretty quick.
Eventually there's got to be a conversation, that's like, hey, this is... Yeah, I've done that before. I've bought it, thrown away, and immediately purchased from somewhere else. So,
that's wild.
Yeah.
So how is the goal to be lazy worked out for you?
Yeah, exactly. especially when you first start out, it's hard to relinquish control of your business to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be everywhere. You want to be doing every single thing in the business because you feel like you're the best one for the job.
Nobody can do it better than me.
Do it better. I'm best, because I know my business. And so it wasn't until I started up 92 or 91, I can't remember, right around then. And it wasn't until year 2016 where I actually was in a position where I felt like I could relinquish that control to other people and hire out what I was doing to a certain extent. And I learned a lot. During that time. So I actually started another business that started doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to hire someone to do my job. And that's when we started to make more money in the produce business.
Yeah.
By removing myself from it, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out very well. So now I feel more comfortable in doing that.
That's cool.
So,
but for years, how early were you waking up to go pick up loads of produce from places?
yeah, it's tough because we operate between about the 1st of July through the end of October. So, I mean, you're looking at a 120-day window.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those days are Sundays that we're not open. So I'm trying to fit a year's worth of income for our family into this short period of time.
Right.
So it's like you have to maximize and just squeeze the lemon out of squeeze the juice out of the lemon as tight as you can, because you're trying to, because every day during that time is worth like 3 days of a regular person's life.
Right.
Right. So if I'm wasting an hour, that's like the regular person wasting 3 hours. And so, yeah, I was up at a lot of times 3:30, 4 in the morning, 6 days a week, getting home usually around 8:30,
So hard work came back to play.
Yeah, hard work. I mean, but it's different, when you work for yourself. So now I don't think I was lazy back then. I think I was just unmotivated.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't motivate me, my first job when I was, 9, 10 years old making $1.50 an hour.
Right.
I wasn't motivated.
Yeah.
But when you're working for yourself and you're like, you can implement every idea that you have, and it might make you an extra $10 an hour, might make you an extra, $500 for that day. That's when it starts getting fun.
All of a sudden you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I can work hard, I can also work smart,
Mm-hmm.
and I can create something bigger than what it used to be.
Right.
I'm not stuck to this hourly pay, working hard just to make a buck.
Right. So it actually got to the point where, I'd be up at 4 in the morning, doing my stuff throughout the day. On the way home, thinking, I wish there was a few more hours in the day. I wish I had 3 more hours I could do what I need to do.
You're still feeling motivated.
Yeah.
Because it's for you.
Because tomorrow's going to come.
Right.
It's going to come whether I, want 3 more hours or not. It's going to come no matter what. And am I ready for it?
Yeah.
I'm not. I need 3 more hours today to get ready for tomorrow.
Right.
So yeah, it's fun. And one thing I noticed is when I was able to hire people to do my job, even though I wasn't as busy, I wasn't as happy.
Really?
So I had all this free
Explain that.
time, and sometimes I'd just be like, I didn't feel productive. Sometimes I felt useless. I didn't feel important, and I was just happier when I was busier.
So you didn't want to be lazy.
Right.
You wanted to be productive.
Right.
You wanted the fulfillment from that.
Mm-hmm.
You enjoyed that. So how did you feel in that gap when suddenly there's people doing what you used to do?
Medicine and ketamine treatments.
You're not wrong.
No,
There's actually truth to that.
No, serious.
Yeah.
There's I think it was 2 years ago. I was so down and felt so down. I actually did do some ketamine treatments in South Weaver, and it was just a little reset. Kind of helped.
It is a powerful tool. Yeah, I do believe that there's some value there in learning yourself.
Yeah, but I felt the same way. Not just every year, going July through October, just going, working, 16 hours a day, 17 hours a day, and then October 31st rolls around, then all of a sudden it's just done.
Now what? Now I'm going to do for how many? 4 months? 5?
Yeah. So now I've got 8 months of non-productivity.
Oh, so it's 8 months. So you're on force
4.
hard.
Yeah.
8 months of now what am I going to do with myself?
Right. So it's even though we had enough money, it wasn't about the money.
Right.
It's about what am I going to do? I don't have people calling me wanting things, or I don't need to call people. I don't need to interact with people, and I would a lot of times I would slump into that same type of depression.
So is that partly where some of your other business endeavors have come in? You fill in that time?
Right. Sometimes I would desperately seek for something to do during the winter to occupy my time.
How do you feel the forum plays into that? Because we've talked about that a little bit.
Well, it's interesting because the forum comes along, and now I'm going to a few meetings here and there. I'm interacting with Paul, with you. Today we went and met with a couple high-end people and have conversations with them. So it's getting me out of, like, especially with COVID.
Right.
Everybody's kind of like in their homes and stuff like that. And it's nice to be able to get out and start meeting people that operate at a higher level than I do.
It's so fun, right?
Yeah.
I love it too. Like, to go out and meet with people who are accomplishing at a higher level than me, to learn some things from them, to associate with you and have that camaraderie of we're doing something together. Right. All of that is that's what keeps me motivated. That's what is inspiring to me, is to hear from other people, hear from you, have people that I'm working with to accomplish something. We have some common goals. For me, that's where this comes in.
Yeah, even in our last forum meeting, at the end, I can't remember his name. He spoke a little bit about a business that he's created in the tattoo industry.
Right.
He doesn't do tattoos, but he created a whole, like, out of thin air, created this business in the tattoo industry where he's like totally crushing it. Like, who would have thought of that?
But it's cool to hear that, right?
Yeah, it's like how many other industries are out there that no one's tapped into.
Right.
And that's, just hearing something like that, being part of the forum, one idea can change your life. You know what I mean? Can, like, set you in a different direction that you never even thought of.
Yeah.
Because we only know what we think we know.
Exactly. That's to me probably the biggest thing that I love about associating with everybody is I get these little ideas popping from them into my mind, or I just learn something new. I have a little paradigm shift in my thinking because of what I'm hearing from other people.
Right.
And it helps me a lot.
Yeah.
It helps me do better in the businesses I'm doing, and helps me be a better person, I feel like. So going back to your years of being in business for yourself and doing these things, are there any secrets to success that you feel, anything, a lot of them, right? But what are some of the keys? What are some secrets, or what are some of the key principles that you feel have helped you to accomplish your goals and make this what you want it to be?
One thing I've learned is that with today's day in technology, with the way we communicate, social media, YouTube, there's no secrets to success. Everything's it's
all out there.
Everything's out there.
It's not a secret anymore.
Right. There's no secret. And I think that's the secret, is knowing that there's no secret. Right. I think people are so busy, like, learning more and more and more and more, but they're not implementing. They're not implementing what they learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the key is people are they're constantly getting ready to do something. I'm getting ready to do this. I'm going to college, going to college. So what are you going to do after that? Oh, I'm going to go get my master's. And then what are you going to do? It's like, I think learning can be a avoidance mechanism to actually creating and doing something.
I think there's a lot of avoidance mechanisms, and I love it. This is really cool. This is a cool concept to me, because you're just saying, take action, get moving, right? I think there's a lot of things that become those avoidance mechanisms. When I'm coaching entrepreneurs, they're like, I'm going to get going as soon as I have this brochure done, as soon as I have my website done, as soon as I'm in a better office, as soon as I had a photographer one time, I just need to have a better camera. So they're always looking for the next thing, and it can be just the education. I just need to learn more before I can actually go out and do. Did you ever make any mistakes along the way of building this, what you've created?
Yeah, outside of the produce business, I'm a huge fan of network marketing. Yeah. I love it, and I was part of a business where I was very successful in that, built a big team, and I learned a lot about human behavior in that, watching people. One of the things that I really push people to do is to be more present on social media, like Facebook, I'm like, do a Facebook Live. You know, teaching people how to do a Facebook Live. It's like, what do I do? What do I talk about? I go, I don't know. Just push the record button and start talking.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. Like, I'm not comfortable sitting here doing this. You know, I'm sure. I don't know if you are or not, but it's not my comfort zone. But it's like, just do it.
Right.
Just do it. Just press the button. It's like if you go do your first Facebook Live, or really anything for that matter, and you're like, it's awesome and it's perfect, then all it tells me is you've waited too long.
You've been
why did you wait that long if you're so good at it? Why did you wait that long to do it?
Mess up a million times.
Yeah, and it's like, Gary Vaynerchuk, he teaches that. He's like, just go out and start falling on your face. That's the only way. And in reality, that's what people want to see anyway.
What keeps people from doing it? What do you think makes people wait too long?
It's funny. Paul and I had this conversation on the way up here. I said I heard this quote from somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but it's like, I'm not what I think I am, right? I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. You gotta really think about that, because your head will start to like smoke. And
Yeah.
I am what I think other people think I am, because that's how you view yourself.
That's how you view yourself. It's you kind of practice at that level, or you show up at that level.
Yeah. And so I think that's the biggest thing, though. I think that's one of the biggest things that hold people back, is just their insecurity, because they think people think a certain thing about them. And I know that's not true.
Or they're just worried about what people will think.
Yeah. And I've talked to a lot of people, and they have this perception of what they think people think of them. And it's not true. Like, I don't see you that way. Like, what you're saying to me, how you feel people think about you, it's like the total opposite.
Right.
So I think people get really insecure about how they think people are seeing them.
How would you encourage somebody to overcome that? What would be your recommendation to turn inward, or to just take action?
I think, one thing that's worked for me is you kind of have to play games with your mind a little bit. You kind of have to play with you have to play games. It's kind of like when you say, well, when you're talking in, a large setting in front of people, imagine everybody out there is being nude.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Who's got the upper hand now, right? I'm the only one dressed in the room.
Right.
You feel pretty comfortable because you know everybody else. But the thing is, for me, is I think you have to realize that don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about what other people think of how you look, because in reality, people aren't thinking that, because they're worried too much about how they look.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How did you think you looked to yourself when you did your first few Facebook Lives?
Like an idiot.
Me too. Like, I'd do this live video. I didn't like to hear my own voice. I didn't look like how I looked, and I didn't even want to post it.
Right.
But then I would get this awesome feedback from people. They're like, I love what you just told me.
Right.
Thank you for teaching that. Thank you for giving me this idea. And I realized exactly what you said, is that awkwardness I was feeling was just coming from inside here.
Right.
People were enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, obviously. There's going to be some people that aren't going to think the way I think or want to hear what I have to say. But I had to kind of overcome that myself.
Yeah, I think in reality, what people don't want to see, you don't want to see polished people. You don't want to see these perfectly, because that doesn't resonate, right? It's better to be relatable than credible. I think
there's a good point to that. Yeah.
Unless you're a doctor, you're doing surgery, it's important to be credible. But if you have a business or you're network marketing, I promise you it's a lot better to be relatable than credible.
Right.
Because the credibility can be found somewhere else. It's not about you, right?
I've stepped in the network marketing realm, and I've enjoyed it. It is fun to build a team and get a product out there that you believe in, and it is a lot of fun. And I had, the first time I got involved in a network marketing program, my very top team member was a pig farmer. And that guy, he loved our product. He would tell everybody about it because he just didn't even care. Mm-hmm. And he just was growing, like, his business grew like crazy because he was so relatable.
Right.
It wasn't because he had some, I was a doctor. Mm-hmm. I had credibility, like, I've got this great product and here's the reasons.
Right.
But he would just be like, you got to try this. This is great, you know.
Yeah.
And just that relatability, he was killing it.
Yeah, it's because, you know, network marketing's about duplication, right? I'm not going to duplicate you. I'm not going to go to school for 12 years and be like Paul, Dr. Benson, you know, but I can be like a pig farmer.
Right.
You know, I can be like him. You know,
if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as network marketing, yeah, it's very, very important just to be relatable. And I think
that's good advice.
If people, you know, if they get on and sharing, you know, social media is just basically has become a highlight reel for everybody's life.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if you're building a business, you want to be successful, you need to share not just your highlights, but you need to share, you know, where did I come from? You know, how did I get here? What struggles did I go through to get here? And that's what people want to see.
Yeah, it makes me enjoy being in business with you a lot more because I know you've struggled through some things.
Right.
And because I'm going through my own struggles that nobody knows about. So if I feel like everybody else is doing well, then suddenly I'm like, well, why am I struggling? Why am, you know?
Right.
But when they're real to me and I'm like, okay, I can relate to that because life is not easy. I mess up, so do you.
Yeah.
Then we can now let's make something happen because it's okay. It's cool.
Yeah, it's like the Rocky story, the Rocky movie. You know, the struggles that Rocky went through before he won his fight, all that, you know, with his personal life, with his fighting career and stuff like that. It's like if the movie would have started out as him being a champion and he fought, and he stayed a champion. At the end, he was a champion.
Yeah,
that's riveting, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
No one wants to see that. People want to see the struggle.
Right. Yeah, that's what we relate to.
Yeah.
So if there's some fledgling entrepreneur, some young person, or even older person that just says, "I'm ready to do something for myself." It could be in the network marketing realm, or just some other type of business, or a product they're wanting to launch, or any type of business that somebody wants to do. What would be your advice to them to be successful, or to help them to get that going, to become an entrepreneur?
Join the forum.
Well, why do you say that?
No, I mean, I would say surround yourself with people that are going to be supportive, that have maybe, I was told once the best way to walk through a minefield is following other people. You don't want to step on the minefield.
You don't want to make the mistakes I've made.
Yeah, you don't want to make the same mistakes. So
you.
if you can go through and you could be mentored by people that have done what you've done. Traditional business, sometimes it can be difficult because people are afraid of competition.
Yeah.
And so they're afraid to, help you get started, especially if you're in the same industry.
Yeah.
Network marketing is a little bit different because they want to duplicate their own success.
Right.
So I'd say, surround yourself with people that are open to sharing their knowledge with you. And that's what I like about the forum is everybody, so far from what I've seen, is very open to sharing what they've done. Like even the short time I've been, associated with it, I've heard some tips here and there that I know will help me in my business. Yeah. So I would say surround yourself with good people and just get started. Just get started. Like go out and fall on your face, and get started. Yeah. Don't think that things have to be perfect before you get going.
I agree 100%. Take action. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to learn all the ins and outs. You don't have to be aware of all the mistakes. I feel like my own ego when I started business made me have to step on the minefields a lot myself.
Right.
And if I had been a part of a group and relied a little bit more on mentorship, even had a business coach earlier on, then I could have avoided some of those pitfalls. Right. And not having the humility to recognize that there's a lot I could get from other people.
Right.
Could have helped me get where I am faster, with fewer tears and fewer sweat.
In fact, I started I think it was back in '94. I started another business doing landscape curbing, the edging around people's lawns, the cement edging. And I ran that business for I believe 12 years or so. Then I sold it to one of my employees. But when I started that business, I went and bought the equipment, and I talked to the owner of that equipment on the phone for like 10 minutes, and he told me how to do it. That's how I learned how to do it.
That was your introduction to the business.
Now, if I had taken 2 or 3 days and went and worked with him, with his crew, to learn how, it would have shortened the time frame by probably 2 years.
Because you were just messing up a lot.
Oh yeah, well, we were mixing the mix wrong, and it was too wet, and we were fighting it when it came out of the machine, and why is it doing this? And it's like stupid that people don't just go take a little bit. I mean, yeah, you have to take action.
Yeah.
But just take some time and be around some people that have done what you've done.
So there's a combination.
Yeah.
Take action and learn at the same time.
Yeah, maybe I was too much of a just take action type of guy, and
Yeah.
I kind of forgot the other part. So
I think that's me as well.
Yeah.
I'm big on taking action.
Mm-hmm.
Just get started, just get moving, make something happen. Feel free to mess up, but I have realized more over time the importance of having mentors, of having learning. Obviously as a doctor, I had to learn it all first.
yeah,
Can't mess up on that. I can't be operating on somebody and give them, mess everything up.
Mm-hmm.
But in business in general, I have been a little bit more of a let's just get going.
yeah,
And so there is kind of a balance between I am learning but moving at the same time,
mm-hmm.
and so that's important. I feel like for me as well, the more that I have learned about business, the more that I have been involved in running my own surgical center as well as the other businesses I've done. I've done many that you know of over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I found that having mentors has become more and more important. Because even though I'm a mentor myself, I have so many blind spots that just sitting down with you and talking, you'll just point something out that I hadn't even thought of. And so having mentors and having coaches or being in a group like the Forum, even at this stage, like you said, we've only been doing the Forum for a month now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already, just like you, gained some great little tidbits.
Well, you made a comment in our last forum where we got together, a little huddle up, and you mentioned that sometimes the people that you're mentored by or coached by, maybe they're haven't even been successful as you are. Like you're open enough. The ego doesn't get in the way enough to actually keep you from learning from people that maybe haven't been as successful.
Definitely, and because the accountability in and of itself is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have insights that I don't have, first of all. So they may not have been as successful as me, but they have insights that I don't have. And so I glean things from them that are valuable, but having that accountability of, I said I'm going to do something and have to go back and check in and let them know that I did it.
Right.
If I go back and I didn't do it, then that's showing where my discipline is. It's showing where, I need that accountability for me to be at my highest level, to perform at my highest level. So, so I think that's important. I've also mentored people who've been way more successful than me. I've been their mentor, their business coach, and yet they're making hundreds of millions of dollars more than me. And it's humbling for them to reach out and look for my insight. I'm like, wow, look what you're accomplishing, yet you're still humble enough to say,
right.
What do you think? What are your ideas here? And then them being accountable to me is they've learned that being successful is not an ego trip. You got to be humble.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool thing.
I mean, one thing that's been very beneficial in my business, one thing that I live and die by in my business is customer satisfaction. And so at our produce stands, we implemented what we call a toss and tell guarantee.
Okay.
So, if people buy any of our products, they don't have to bring it back and show it to us. They can just throw it out. And next time they come in, they can say, hey, that last watermelon I got or those raspberries I got weren't very good. And I've trained my employees to, no questions asked, no, guilt trip. They get a replacement or they get their money back. And so that's been one thing what it does is it creates, like you talk about accountability, it's made me accountable to where I source my products.
Gotcha.
Right? Because I know if it's not good, I'm going to eat it.
Right.
Right? I'm going to take the hit on it because my customers have come to, I want picky customers.
Yeah.
Right. I want them to be picky because then it elevates our business. Right. And so that's been one thing that's been one of the best things we've ever done in our business is just made it so 100% satisfaction guaranteed on everything we sell.
Have you ever heard other business owners complain about their customers?
Oh yeah.
You hear that a lot, right?
And I may have at times, sometimes you get those certain customers in, but you want to give people that Nordstrom experience. I don't know if you shopped at Nordstrom, but they just take you by the arm and just help you out, and their guarantee's ironclad.
Yeah.
But
well, what came to mind when you were talking about this toss and tell is basically you're saying, I'm going to take care of you no matter what. If you're not satisfied, we're here for you. We want the quality to be such that there's no questions asked. So instead of complaining or putting a guilt trip on them or trying to find a way not to have to give back money or to give them free produce, you're just telling them straight up that they're important to you.
Right.
And rather than coming to me and saying, my customers are never happy, they're always, they bring back stuff that I wish they didn't. You're not complaining about your customers. You're literally coming straight up front with the policy that says, if you're not happy, I'm gonna make up for it.
Right. And it's funny, people will come in and tell me that, like, hey, the last one I got wasn't. They'll be like, hey, can you help me pick out a watermelon? And I'll be helping them. They're like, yeah, the last one wasn't that good. It wasn't quite. And I'll be like, well, this one's on me then.
Yeah.
Any type of like negative feedback, even if it was just kind of good.
Yeah.
Like they're getting a new watermelon. But most of them don't want to get it for free. Most people don't want to take advantage of that policy. But just them knowing that everything's, backed up.
Right.
Like it just gives people an experience where they feel comfortable in buying anything that you sell.
Do you see a lot of your customers coming back over and over, or you have loyal clientele?
Yeah, it's all repeat customers.
But that's a great policy to make that happen.
Yeah.
So customer satisfaction, how does that apply in other businesses? That works great in produce. How could I apply that in my surgery business?
Well, it's like last year I had a kidney stone. All right, so I go in for surgery. They can do the lithotripsy on me, and then they blast it apart, and then the kidneys become small. Kidney stones become smaller, and they pass through. Yeah. So I go in and do that. It doesn't work. Yeah. They can't blast it small enough. I still have to pay $10,000 out of my pocket. Right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. So then I had to go in and do a laser thing where they go up through the ureter and they break it up with a laser and then pull the stones out. Another $10,000 or $12,000 for that. And I was thinking, if this was my business, they wouldn't be paying for the first one. So I don't know. It may not apply to everybody's business, but what if everybody did implement that practice? Yeah. It'd be pretty cool.
Well, it's making me think.
It would sure make you be a little more careful on how you're spending your customers' money. Right. Because if it's not going to work out for them, you're not going to suggest that procedure. You're not going to suggest that product.
Right.
When you have that in your back of your mind all the time, you're going to source the best product.
Right.
You're going to become best at what you do. Right.
I find myself spending a lot of time trying to set realistic expectations of what I can accomplish with the surgery. So they, trying to help them understand that there are limitations, that there's potential complications, that all that exists. But after listening to you, and I'm actually even though that's important, because complications exist, even if I do everything right. But it is making me think a little bit, like how can I apply that to help my clients, my patients, feel like they're getting my very best, and that I'm there to back it up.
So I think that's it's you brought that up, very important to set expectations, right? It's kind of like 1 year, I think it was 2 years ago, we had just a lot of problems with the peaches, right? We had a freeze where there weren't very many peaches, so there weren't very many available. When there's not a lot available, the quality drops down, right? And it's funny because it almost seems like the lower the quality is, the higher you have to charge, because that means there's not enough available. So the farmers that did have the peaches, they could charge whatever they wanted, right? Yeah. Even though they were poor quality. And so, in that type of a situation, you have to set the expectations with the customer, saying, you know what, this is what's available. Like, I'm bringing in the very best available, right? And this is kind of what we have to charge because of that. So if you see a flaw here or something like, little imperfections in the peach, just realize that that's one of the only peaches available in Utah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I remember when we were doing some produce stuff together, Greenfield Farms. I remember the people would come in, they wanted organic corn.
right.
So what's in every ear of organic of corn, right?
Yeah.
What's in there?
You got worms or bugs, yeah.
Right. So it's going to be there, and then they would be upset that was there. So setting that expectation, you want organic, you're going to find a worm in there.
Yeah, people will come in my stand all the time and like, is your corn organic? And I go, I don't know, let's open up an ear. Open up an ear. You see a worm in there? No. Then it's not organic. But you're going to love it. Right?
Yeah, it's going to taste amazing.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So,
or just even a lack of understanding what that really
Right.
means, right?
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, this has been awesome. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having
Look
me.
forward to everything else we've got ahead of us in the next few years. So appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today on the forum. Don't forget to subscribe and message us for the chance to hear your story and share your insights with our army of entrepreneurs. See you next week